The Duchess of Edinburgh spends a day in Kent. Princess Martha Louise of Norway and Shaman Durek give an exclusive new interview in LA. Crown Prince Frederik of Denmark attends a 2023 Wind Europe exhibition in Copenhagen. And members of the Dutch royal family host a luncheon in Den Haag. All this and much more coming up next on your Royal Daily News. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Alexandra, and this is your Royal Daily News for April 26th, 2023. In Den Haag, Their Majesties King WillemAlexander and Queen Maxima of the Netherlands, accompanied by Her Royal Highness Princess Beatrix of the Netherlands, hosted a festive luncheon for 100 individuals inside the Orangery at the Paleis House ten Bosch. The luncheon was held on the occasion of His Majesty the King's 10 years on the throne, as well as to celebrate 100 outstanding Dutch citizens who have made a significant contribution to their country. The lucky 100 individuals were nominated by their peers, who entered their names into a contest entitled 10 Maal. On Sunday, in Sevilla, Spain, Her Royal Highness Princess Katharina Amalia, Princess of Oranje, Their Royal Highnesses Princess Maria Carolina and Princess Maria Chiara of Bourbon Two Sicilies, Miss Victoria Federica de Todos los Santos de Maichar y Bourbon, daughter of Her Royal Highness Infanta Elena of Spain, Duchess of Lugo, and the niece of His Majesty King Felipe VI of Spain, along with hundreds of individuals from around the world, attended the opening of the 2023 Real de la Feria de Abril. Approved by the City Council of Sevilla on September 18, 1846, and inaugurated on April 18, 1847, in Prado de San Sebastian, the Feria became a commercial event with the sale of cattle and 19 booths. As the year went on, the 6-day Feria de Abril became a unique cultural event unlike anything else in beautiful España. In Madrid, Her Majesty Queen Letizia of Spain attended the opening of the 9th Conferencia Europea Tobacco o Salud, organized by the Asociación Española contra el Cáncer, in collaboration with the Comité Español de Prevención del Tabaco, held inside the Auditorio Norte at the IFEMA, Madrid. Established in 1996 and held every 3 years, the Conference on European Tobacco or Health brings together experts in public health, smoking, and tobacco control policies from across Europe to discuss the latest developments in the field and to promote effective measures to reduce tobacco use and improve public health. During today's opening, Her Majesty the Queen gave a speech stating, quote, "There are many people behind these organizations, scientists, doctors, researchers, experts in public health policies, and all of them are working towards a common goal, to get the European social movement working together so that smoking is no longer our top public health problem. Because smoking is not a habit, it is a disease, and we must help those suffering from it. Addressing an issue like the tobacco epidemic requires intelligence, unity, and a coordinated strategy that integrates prevention, legal and care measures, as well as control policies that have the potential to reduce its negative impact on health. Professor Carlos Lopez Oten always reminds us that prevention is a culture of life, and a healthy life requires curiosity about the knowledge that helps us make all those daily decisions that affect our health, meaning what we eat, drink, breathe, think, what we do not smoke, and the exercise we do every single day of our life. Let us promote that individual responsibility, and now let us listen during these 3 days to those who really know. Thank you." End quote. During today's event, Her Majesty the Queen also held a meeting with members of the Scientific Committee of the ECTOH Madrid 2023, as well as with young people leading the anti-tobacco and anti-smoking movement in Spain. In Madrid, His Majesty King Felipe VI of Spain held a meeting this morning with the President of the Federative Republic of Brazil, Luis Inácio Lula da Silva, at Palacio Real de Madrid. In the afternoon, His Majesty the King and Her Majesty Queen Letizia of Spain hosted a luncheon in honor of President da Silva and the First Lady's official visit to Spain. Guests attending the luncheon also included members of the Spanish and Brazilian governments and representatives of Spanish cultural institutions. In Brussels, His Majesty King Philippe of the Belgians held an audience this morning with the incoming chairman of the Federation of Enterprises in Belgium, Mr. Bart de Smet, and the outgoing chairman, Mr. René Branders, at the Palais Royal. During their meeting, discussions focused on current and future economic challenges, the evolution in the labor market, and the image of Belgium abroad. Meanwhile, Her Majesty Queen Mathilde of the Belgians presided over the 8th edition of the Queen Mathilde Prize, held at the Palais Royal du Bruxelles. The winner of the Queen Mathilde Prize went to the project DIALS, Diversity Action Plan for Students. According to the Belgian Royal Court, DIALS supports, quote, immigrant law students from the University of Antwerp and seeks to increase their success rate in higher education through workshops and networking events with the professional world, end quote. Last evening, His Majesty the King held a roundtable meeting with leaders from the Belgian Federal Police, Belgium Crisis Center, and the Belgian Defense Force. During the meeting, discussions focused on anti-terrorism and national security. In Copenhagen, His Royal Highness Crown Prince Frederik of Denmark attended the 2023 Wind Europe exhibition held at the Bella Center. The Wind Europe 2023 is the largest conference on wind energy in the world. This year, over 14,000 participants, which include European energy ministers, industry leaders, investors, technology experts, NGOs, and representatives of the military, and more than 500 exhibitors have confirmed their participation. According to a press release, the Wind Europe Conference 2023 comes at a pivotal point for the wind industry in Europe. The European Union wants to accelerate the build-out of onshore and offshore wind to strengthen Europe's energy security and ensure affordable electricity prices for Europe's consumers. But the European supply chain is struggling with increasing input costs and supply chain bottlenecks. Wind Europe 2023 explores which policies are needed to strengthen and expand the supply chain now. In the afternoon, the Crown Prince attended the opening of the company program, SM in Entrepreneurship Final, held at the Industry House in Copenhagen. According to the Danish Royal Court, 150 students from various youth programs participated in the final. During today's event, the students presented their project in a prepared pitch to judges who are representatives from the business world. The purpose of the company program, SM Entrepreneurship, is to prepare young people for the challenges of the future in the Danish labor market by teaching them to think creatively with the aim of giving them the skills to become entrepreneurs who can create change and make a difference. Meanwhile, Her Royal Highness Crown Princess Mary of Denmark, as patron of the United Nations Population Fund, accompanied by the Minister for Development Cooperation and the Global Climate Policy, Mr. Dan Jorgensen, continued their visit to beautiful Fiji. The day began aboard the 72-foot double-hulled canoe named the Utu Niyalo, which means the heart of the spirit, for a tour around the island of Viti Levu with representatives from the Pacific Community, SPC. The traditional canoe, which is similar to the hokulea, can travel vast oceans in record time, using only traditional Polynesian navigation techniques. According to a press release, the Utu Niyalo is, quote, being used to revive and sustain traditional Fijian canoe building, sailing, and navigational knowledge, skills, and customs, end quote. In the mid-morning, the Crown Princess and Minister Jorgensen held a meeting with the Prime Minister of Fiji, Sitiveni Rabuka. In the afternoon, the Crown Princess, accompanied by the Executive Director of the United Nations Population Fund, Ms. Natalia Kanim, visited the headquarters of the Fiji Disabled People's Federation organization. During the visit, the Crown Princess was informed about the work of the UNFPA and the FDPF and what they do for vulnerable individuals with disabilities in Fiji. After the meeting, the Crown Princess participated in the, quote, handout of dignity kits, which are aid packages developed especially for persons with disabilities in connection with humanitarian crises, end quote. Thereafter, the Crown Princess and Minister Jorgensen participated in a high-level meeting with representatives from the Pacific Forum and the Secretary General, Mr. Henry Puna. According to a Pacific Forum press release, the meeting, organized by the government of Fiji in collaboration with the Beyond Oil and Gas Alliance, BOGA, gathered high-ranking representatives from the Pacific Island nations for a, quote, discussion about the region's role in connection with BOGA's vision of a controlled and equitable phase-out of oil and gas production, end quote. The day ended with a visit to the University of the South Pacific. Whilst there, the Crown Princess and Minister Jorgensen participated in a panel discussion with students from the Pacific Island nations about the climate agenda and about the involvement of young people in this agenda. In Stockholm, Her Royal Highness Princess Marie of Denmark attended the opening of the 2023 Nordic Food Waste Summit, organized by the Swedish Food Agency and the Nordic Council of Ministers in collaboration with the Swedish Board of Agriculture and the Swedish Environmental Protection Agency. The Nordic Food Waste Summit gathered over 170 people, including experts, politicians, and representatives from public institutions, companies, and civil society, to discuss how the Nordic region can implement immediate measures to reduce food waste. Topics addressed during today's summit included what are the best practices to reduce food waste, how can we accelerate the progress, and how can Nordic cooperation provide added value for national efforts. According to a press release, food waste is a, quote, mammoth sustainability issue with vast effects on our climate and environment, end quote. During today's summit, Princess Marie gave the keynote speech discussing how she became involved in the food waste movement, the effects that food waste has on the environment, and much more. In Stockholm, His Majesty King Carl Gustaf of Sweden held an audience this morning with the Swedish Air Force Chief, Major General Jonas Winkman, at the Kungliga Slottet. During the meeting, His Majesty the King was informed about the, quote, ongoing activities and developments within the Air Force, end quote. In the afternoon, His Majesty the King and Her Royal Highness Crown Princess Victoria of Sweden attended the inauguration of the Stockholm Norvik Harbor. The Stockholm Norvik Harbor is Sweden's new port for rolling stock and containers. Prior to the official inauguration, His Majesty the King and the Crown Princess were given a tour of the area, viewed various cranes, as well as visited the control room. Meanwhile, His Royal Highness Prince Daniel of Sweden participated in a roundtable meeting on how, quote, society can promote increased physical activity for everyone, end quote. In Oslo, Her Royal Highness Crown Princess Mathilde of Norway attended a celebration of the Bunad held at the Farmers' Youth League. According to the Norwegian Royal Court, for the past 3 years, various Norwegian cultural associations, including the Norwegian Institute for Bunad and Folk Costume, have been working on a project entitled Bunad, Popular but Threatened. Quote, the project aims to increase knowledge about the use and manufacture of bunads, especially among children and young people. Although the bunad tradition in Norway is popular, it is also threatened by a gradual weakening of craftsmanship. Leaders of the project have been in the process to nominate the general use of the bunad in Norway to UNESCO's list of intangible cultural heritage. The nomination application has now been submitted to UNESCO, end quote. In Los Angeles, Her Highness Princess Martha Louise of Norway and her fiancé Shaman Durek recently sat down for an interview with the incredibly popular online magazine, Gurus. In the April issue, the beautiful princess and the lovable shaman spoke about their love. Shaman Durik's, quote, sexual fluidity, end quote, racism, Harry and Meghan, His Majesty King Harald V of Norway, and of course, shamanism, what it is and what it isn't. I will say this, for those of you who don't know about shamanism, well, like witchcraft, shamanism is not a religion. It is simply a practice where one is able to connect with the spirit world. When speaking about types of shamans, the shaman said, quote, they, meaning people, don't understand that there is a spirit shaman, there's an earth shaman, there's a fire shaman, and a water shaman. I'm a spirit shaman. I talk to spirits, and that's how I was trained. But there are earth shamans who deal with only plant medicine. Water shamans you find in Indonesia submerge you with water and pray into the water and so forth. Air shamans use their voice to bring healing and energy and transformation, end quote. Princess Marta Louise speaks about how she introduced her new boyfriend to her children, Leah Isadora, Maud Angelica, and Emma Tallulah. Quote, I introduced him as my gay friend. We took them to Universal Studios, and they all met him without having the pressure of us going out. And they connected, which was so beautiful, end quote. When speaking about His Majesty King Harald V of Norway and how proud the shaman was when the king spoke out against racism, the shaman stated, quote, it was such a big deal that King Harald spoke out against what was being done to me. The racism and bringing awareness that they are not okay with. For any person in the monarchy to be able to speak out at that level is history in the making. And for the press to bury it, not talk about it, and not put it out there was very disheartening for me. I cried, end quote. If you're interested in reading the entire Guru's magazine article with the shaman and the princess, in the description box below, I will leave a direct link to the article. In Amman, His Majesty King Abdullah II of Jordan held a meeting this morning with representatives from the Investment Ministry at Al Husseiniya Palace. And finally, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Edinburgh, spent a lovely day in Kent. Today, the Duchess visited the Brock Hill Park Performing Arts College, the Canterbury Christ Church University, Kent, and Medway Medical School, and the Kent Refugee Action Network. And there you have it. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I will be back tomorrow on Thursday, April 27th, with all the latest royal news. Until then, I wish you all a wonderful evening and a great day tomorrow. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Okay, take care, everyone. I will see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.